after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing.
What is good, Raider Nation? It's your boy Raider Alex, back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. At the start of this offseason, the Raiders were one of the teams with the most money in terms of cap space, but now the Raiders are left with not very much. The Raiders, unfortunately, didn't have very many players on the roster. We just had a lot of spots to fill on this team, so we needed to bring in a lot of players, and now it is estimated that the Raiders have a little under $3.5 million left in cap space going into this year's NFL draft. And now, I mentioned this year's NFL draft because you also got to take into consideration the estimate of how much our 2023 NFL draft class will cost. The Raiders also have a lot of draft capital this year. We have a total of 12 draft picks. So look, according to Trac, the estimated cost of our 12 draft picks would be approximately around $12 million. So the Raiders only having $3.5 million right now at this moment, we're going to have to do something about our cap situation in order to be able to sign all of our draft picks. Now, there's a number of different ways the Raiders can go about this in order to add more cap space to this team. And first, it would be to potentially restructure some of the guys we already have on this team for this next upcoming season. The Raiders currently are still paying a lot of dead cap salary from bad contracts during the John Gruden era, but next season the Raiders will have a lot more cap space, so they could look into trying to find some players to restructure their contracts, essentially to lower their cap hit this upcoming season and ultimately just pay them a little bit more in the next upcoming season where we're gonna have more money. Now, a lot of people have brought up the possibility of restructuring Chandler Jones' contract, but I'm going to tell you why the Raiders should not do this. Look, there's no way to go around it. The Chandler Jones contract is a bad contract for the Raiders. So if we restructure, we're going to have to continue to pay him even more down the line where potentially he won't even be on the roster in the future. And that's not what we want to do. We should have learned our lesson from the previous John Gruden regime doing this exact same thing. And we are paying for the consequences as we speak. You also can't just outright release Chandler Jones because his contract carries a huge dead cap by doing so. With the Raiders, with Chandler Jones, at this point, you just have to bite the bullet for next season, hope for the best, and next offseason, that's where we have an out in his contract, and that's where we can just part ways. But some guys you could potentially restructure. Some guys you can look into are guys like our left tackle, Kolton Miller, maybe wide receiver Hunter Renfrow, our star defensive end, Max Crosby as well. But look, if we do go that restructuring route, whoever we restructure, I think it should be a player who we are going to be confident will be with the Raiders next year, because I don't want to continue to have dead cap for players who are not even on this roster. Think about it. We're still paying for players like Corey Littleton, Carl Nassib, Kenyon Drake, who in my opinion we should have just kept Kenyon Drake on the roster. That way we could have avoided this $4 million dead cap hit. We should have kept him over a running back, Brandon Bolden, who basically added like zero value to our roster last year. So by keeping Drake over him, look, at least we could have been, at least it would have been a little bit more favorable towards our cap. And the Raiders, we are also paying for our former first round pick, Alex Leatherwood, who we released before the start of the season last offseason. So look, if we didn't have so much dead cap money that we're paying at this moment, then the Raiders wouldn't be in this situation as we speak. But if the Raiders don't want to go the restructuring route, then they're going to have to look at potentially trading away some players or flat out releasing some guys on this roster. One of the biggest trade candidates for me has been our slot wide receiver, Hunter Renfrow. I honestly thought he was going to get traded a couple weeks ago, right before his contract would have been guaranteed for this upcoming season, but we did not do that. Hunter Renfrow definitely holds a decent amount of trade value for any team that is interested in a great route running slot wide receiver, but I also don't know how big his market is for other teams throughout the National Football League. How many teams are truly interested in trading draft capital for him, and on top of that, you're going to be taking on the contract we gave him last offseason. Look, Hunter Renfrow, It's tough because I love him as a player. I think he's a great player. He's a great route runner. But at the same time, last season in this Josh McDaniels system, he did not have a good season at all. He was battling some injuries, and even when he's out there, he did not produce to the level we expected. So Hunter Renfrow could be a guy that could be on the trade block. But also another thing to keep in mind is the fact that the Raiders, with us having so many draft picks, don't be surprised if we trade away some of our draft picks to move up in certain spots in the draft. That way the Raiders can draft players that they're high on, and by doing so you also have less overall draft picks, so you won't spend as much money compared to if we would have used all 12 of our draft picks. So look, I most definitely expect the Raiders to be very busy, very aggressive in this year's NFL draft, potentially moving down in certain spots and also moving up throughout this draft, throughout these 7 rounds. But yeah, it's not looking too good at this current moment with the cap salary situation, but it'll be interesting to see what we do regarding our cap situation, because we need to add some cap space some way, somehow, for the NFL draft that is right around the corner. But Raider Nation, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.